The United States deployed the most powerful military machine on Earth into the jungles of Vietnam, armed with billions of dollars and vast fleets of helicopters. Yet time and again, that overwhelming force was humbled by barefoot guerrilla fighters. The commander of the American war machine, General William Westmoreland, believed in a strategy of cold mathematics. He treated the conflict as a calculus of attrition. If the U.S. killed enemy fighters faster than they could be replaced, the insurgency would eventually quit. To achieve those numbers, the Pentagon relied on search and destroy missions. This required aggressive, loud patrolling, where infantry columns and helicopter cavalcades deliberately crashed through the vegetation to trigger an ambush, just so they could call in massive artillery strikes. This approach turned American soldiers into human tripwires. The success of the mission relied entirely on the infantry's ability to survive a lethal ambush long enough for distant artillery batteries to zero in. The enemy did not care about holding a specific hill or defending a valley. The Viet Cong were fighting for time, needing only to survive until the American public grew tired of the mounting casualties. Guerrilla fighters exploited the noise of the American doctrine. They listened for the screaming helicopter rotors announcing an operation from miles away, watched the infantry stomp through the elephant grass, and simply stepped aside. They chose the time and place of every clash, often evaporating before the artillery arrived. This dual-pane chart illustrates the statistical illusion that blinded the Pentagon. On the left, official enemy kill ratios climb impressively, but on the right, the territorial reality shows that grid squares declared pacified on Tuesday were often entirely retaken by Friday. The American military acted as a blind boxer swinging in the dark. They were dangerous and strong, but they were bleeding out from minor cuts, while their opponent controlled the tempo of the fight. While the Pentagon focused on body counts, a group of military advisors from the bottom of the world recognized the impending disaster. Known as the 30 Originals, these Australian army officers arrived with a lesson forged in the jungles of Malaya. To survive, you must abandon massive firepower, strip away heavy gear, and act like a predator. Veterans later described these soldiers as ghosts. The physical discipline was exacting. Every metal buckle was taped down. Canteens were half-filled to prevent water from sloshing, and their movement was limited to a creeping, agonizing 1 kilometer per day. This strategy relied on counter-tracking. If we look at this schematic, we see an alternative to racing along a trail to force a fight. The Australian patrol moves parallel to the track, maintaining a controlled distance. They read the depth of a heel in the mud or a broken twig to identify crucial water points and rest sites before the enemy even arrives. They called this walking backwards. Instead of pushing into the unknown to stumble across an opponent, they mapped out the enemy's routine and met them at a bottleneck they had already chosen. The effectiveness of these methods relied on a pivot in perspective. They moved beyond simple stealth to focus on mapping and exploiting the enemy's own daily habits. On a moonless night in 1966, this doctrine was applied in the village of Hoa Long. Based on weeks of trail analysis, a 4-man Australian Special Air Service team infiltrated the settlement in dead silence. Testing every floorboard, they crept into a stilted hut and gagged a senior Viet Cong tax collector, removing him without waking the neighbors. While an American staff officer might have proposed a bombardment, capturing this single financial node yielded names, safe houses, and routines that allowed analysts to map the money flow of the entire province. This psychological warfare extended to enemy supplies through Operation Broken Wing. A joint planning cell intentionally abandoned a sabotaged U.S. supply truck, loaded with food mixed with rifle cartridges, engineered to rupture when fired, and rice crates rigged with hidden explosives. They left a trap for the enemy to cut their own hands. As reports of catastrophic weapon failure spread, fighters began to hesitate. Every abandoned crate or dropped magazine carried a shadow question: is this a blessing or a trap? Pushing this discipline to its limit, a sniper detachment codenamed the Geckos targeted a North Vietnamese general. For 72 hours, a three-man team lay pressed into a muddy hillside, motionless. They endured swarms of biting insects and leeches without twitching a muscle, slowing their breathing until enemy guard dogs walked past without reacting, all to deliver one fatal shot. These operations show that patience, precise intelligence, and psychological dread dismantled the insurgency's networks more effectively than high explosives. Allied units trained by the Australians saw an immediate shift in results. Ambush kill ratios spiked to 18-1 in their favor, while their own casualty rates from surprise attacks dropped by 70%. Even in a conventional clash, the training held. At the Battle of Long Tan in August 1966, an isolated Australian company of 108 men was encircled by roughly 2,500 enemy troops inside a rubber plantation. Through strict fire discipline and artillery coordination, they survived, inflicting heavy damage on a force that expected an easy victory. The effectiveness was confirmed by the enemy. Captured internal directives warned Viet Cong commanders that foreign troops were no longer moving in predictable lines, ordering fighters to avoid areas where these silent tracking units operated. On a purely tactical level, these methods had weaponized the jungle itself. By prioritizing silence and observation, the Australians converted the dense canopy from a guerrilla defense into a hunting ground, where the Viet Cong were now the prey. But tactical mastery in the mud collided with a larger reality. The Tet Offensive of 1968 brought urban combat to South Vietnam. While it was a military defeat for the Viet Cong, the scale of the attacks shattered the illusion of American progress. Kill ratios in remote provinces carried little weight compared to the footage of chaos broadcasting into American living rooms. Domestic protests and shifting calculations in Washington drained the political will required to sustain the conflict. The Australian advisors could teach a platoon how to read a broken twig and win a firefight, but no amount of fieldcraft could fix a geopolitical strategy that lacked clear, achievable political objectives. The Ghost Doctrine provided a technical blueprint for fighting an insurgency in the jungle, yet it remains a reminder that an army can perfect the ambush, track every movement, and win every engagement, and still see the overall effort collapse.